Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
Hello, we're British Garden Centres, the largest garden centre group in the UK with 72 garden centres. From Highlegate Garden Centre in Northumberland to Havant Garden Centre in Portsmouth, Carmarthen Garden Centre in South Wales and everywhere in between. We are so excited to be the sponsor of Series 18 of the Plant-Based Podcast. We are also celebrating our 35th birthday this year as British Garden Centres was launched in 1990 in Woodthorpe, Lincolnshire by two brothers, Charles and Robert Stubbs. They started by selling hedge cuttings outside their family home and now have recently opened their 72nd garden centre in Northampton. We aim to provide you with great plants and gardening products at affordable prices with a first-class service delivered by a passionate team. Follow us on our journey on social media at British Garden Centres and find us online at britishgardencentres.com, where you can also shop online and get 10% off with the code PLANTS10. Let's keep Britain growing. Code expires on the 30th of June and gives 10% off everything excluding clearance and gift cards.
Hey guys, in this week's podcast, we've got a subject that is really the buzzword of the moment. It's permaculture. But what is it? Why is it good? And how do you do it? So today on the podcast, we've got Jack's Patch, an edible garden designer. No, that doesn't mean you can eat him. Jack is going to talk us through how you can get into permaculture and how you can grow realistically in a sustainable and self-sufficient way in whatever size of garden you've got, or maybe even a balcony planter, and you may or may not need a straw hat.
Welcome to the podcast, Jack.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a long time, and I'm finally glad I'm getting to speak to both of you guys. So it's been really, really cool. Yeah, we still need to meet at one of these shows. I'm sure it will happen soon as my knowledge expands and I get more ideas. But yeah, really, really cool to be on here. I love it.
Cool.
Well, Jack, I think that we've met. Actually, I think it was very brief, but you know this thing where you can't quite remember. So I'm glad that you don't quite remember as well, because I think it was like maybe just fleeting somewhere. But anyway, it's great to have you on the podcast today, and also thank you for the compliment you gave us at the beginning, because Jack said that like in statistics, most podcasts only have about 10 episodes, and we've got 250, so we are winning, girl.
We're winning. And I actually think this might be the first podcast that we've done where I can't see Michael's face or his leg or the fact that he's lying down. And in fact, there was one podcast that I found really difficult to get all the way through because all I could see was his legs in the air and it literally looked like he was naked. And it was like the weirdest thing ever. I was like, I can't deal with it.
Sorry. I've got a dodgy signal. I'm on the Isle of Wight. And I've got literally the laptop is as close to the window as possible, and I'm laying across a chair with my feet on the bed. So yeah, that gives you a visual. But I've turned off the video so we can max on the sound quality. So,
okay.
But that means you're in charge, Ellen. You're primarily in charge today.
That's scary, isn't it? All right. Thank you, Michael. We all have a picture of what you're doing right now. But more importantly, Jack, I'm really excited to speak to you because I've followed you, I guess, ever since you've sort of started doing what you do. And I love what you do as well. And we have chatted before in the past, like online, but I don't think we've met in person. If we have, I just don't think that we have. But it's really cool to meet you. And I got to say how much I love your accent because earlier on, Michael was just like, where are you from, Jack? And you were like, well, you know, Essex, and you'll hear it more and more. I love their Essex accent. I just totally love it. So I want us to do less talking and you to do all the talking. So first of all, Tell us a little bit about you. Where did it all begin for you? Like, did you like plants when you were younger? How did Jack's Patch start?
It's a story where definitely I think it was fate for me. So 2013, I booked a ticket to go to Australia for a work travel visa, pretty much try and be a little bit of a surf bum and get away from London, because I'd done previously I was an electrician working in the city, and it just didn't, it wasn't feeding my soul at all anymore. So I just really I've always wanted to go to Australia, but I just wanted to really rip the Band-Aid off and go out the city into the countryside and like live by the beach, live that lifestyle. And yeah, 2013, said that already. So 2013 went out, and I remember being in a hostel, and it was midday. So being a typical Brit, we're drinking at 12 midday, and a guy come into the hostel looking for some farm help, and the guy at the counter was like, you go with this guy at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we got there, and it was like every kid's dream of, it was being on a farm, which I'd never had the experience of, but being given a machete and a lighter and go and clear all these weeds, make a big bonfire, burn them. But we done loads of work clearing this like woodland out. It was like a lantana. It was like Jumanji trying to kill the trees, like this huge vines. We were just bringing it down, and we were exposing these mounds that were going to be a lemon and lime orchard going through the woods, which was super cool. But it was one of those things where, like your surrounding is, everything's like bringing up questions like, oh, the chickens are loose, they're just foraging. Oh, we saw cows as we came in, they're like just doing their thing on the land. And it was my first experience of going to a farm and thinking, this is the most like natural synergy of a farm I've seen. Just the way the gardens were, the birds were, it just felt like he was like an avatar. So yeah, after like 4 days work, he cooked us dinner, but he said, go to the garden and grab tomato, eggs, potato, whatever. So kind of first time I'd ever picked and then was about to eat it. So we cooked like all cooked omelettes, but I remember just seeing the egg cracking in the pan and it be bright orange, the tomatoes, I ate one of them, and then ate one of them for the first time on a farm. And then what like was just such a light bulb moment for me, where I was like, oh my God, is this what, like it, at first, I think I said, what have you done to this food? And he went, no, we don't eat any of that English shit here, mate. Just pretty much saying that this is farm fresh, not what you buy from the supermarkets. And yeah, it was such a wall. Like, this is how good it should taste. And to heal your body, it was a soil system, was just explaining loads of stuff. And it just piqued my interest. So for me, that's how I got into it. And there's a whole road ahead of me where it kind of just 10 years later, I'm sitting here designing edible gardens, and kind of to describe my job, I call myself like Willy Wonka, but for plants.
Well, that is a really cool description, definitely. Can I just, so you hadn't ever come across plants or like grow your own when you were a lot younger? Like, what was your kind of like knowledge like? Because, for some kids, they probably don't even know how tomatoes grow, or kind of like, you never had any kind of inkling at that stage at all? This was really, really coming to you in this light bulb moment in Australia.
Yeah, but really, it's I don't think I ate real food until I was 23. I feel like food was substance for me. It was like, working as an electrician, I was going to like cafes with builders, and all we was thinking like, oh, let's just get the meatiest at the time. It was like the meatiest meal, like set one on the menu. That's going to sustain me. I was never caring about where the eggs from, are these tomatoes organic or anything like that. And I grew up with like parents or grandparents never really like growing their own. But I think subconsciously, like, it's a good question because it makes me think back to being a kid, and I actually won like the Busy Lizzie contest, like growing like the most flowers, or like the tallest beanstalk, no pun intended, with Jack and the Beanstalk, or like the biggest sunflower. Now, like when you saying that, like I think back to then, and also like my favorite days at school was like going to the woods. And you remember where you put like the crayon on the tree with the bark, like over the paper on the tree, you put the crayon on and it like, yeah. I thought like, all that sort of stuff was cool. So it was meant to be for sure.
I love that. Do you know, it's quite interesting. She was saying just also about the eggs. I don't eat eggs, but my mum gave me a pack of eggs. I was staying at a friend's and she said, give these to your friend, you know, she can have them. They're all kind of sort of various different sizes. And when she cracked them open, the smaller eggs were all like completely orange yolk. And she was like, oh, there must be something wrong with these. I better throw them away. I was like, no, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that obviously when you buy them from the shop or supermarket, they're perfectly sized, perfectly coloured. Do you know what I mean? That like naturally, that's not really how it is. So, and I don't know if they do it in the UK, but in the US they even bleach the eggshells. So I'm not sure if that happens here or not. Yeah, they bleach eggshells. Like I know you don't eat the eggshells, but you know, seriously. Do you know what I mean? So you know, all this stuff that we buy and eat, gosh, we don't even know half of it, do we really? And also, when you were saying also like about not, you know, you'd never like picked something from the plant and thought about that kind of whole growing process. I was recording once on my allotment and the cameraman pointed at a cabbage. I think I've probably told the story 10 times over. And he was literally like, what is that? And I was like, it's a cabbage. You know, you don't buy Savoy cabbages in the supermarket. Generally, you get the perfectly tight, round, you know, same size and shape cabbages. And I was like, it's cabbage.
That's mad.
You know, it's nobody's fault generally. Do you know what I mean? That you don't know. That's just how, you know, things are. The fault is of the education system. Do you know what I mean? For not teaching us in the first place, you know, how to do this and what it all is about. So, sorry, that was a long way round, weren't it? But what I'd love to know is what happened next, you know? So you went off to Australia, you had this kind of epiphany, if you like, and how did you start to grow your own food yourself? What happened next?
So come back from Australia, hair down to my nipples. I had long, like surfer locks, and they were super long, super blonde. And I did become a bit of I was like the turtle from Finding Nemo when I come back because my mates was like, oh my gosh, like you've gone there, like typical like Essex lad when I went. And then when I come back, like hair was long. Really like got an allotment at the age of like 25, which all my mates are like, what are you doing? And I mean, we can all like probably testify to that, like how your life just changes when you get into plants. And everyone listening as well, probably thinking, yeah, I'm doing the same at the minute. Like skipping time going to the pub on a Friday night, and I had a head's torch on shoveling manure on a Friday night instead because there was a new fresh batch of manure and I had to get it first. So I came home, got an allotment. I was really lucky, just like, you know, the waiting list from a pretty horrendous. And yeah, this one came up and I got it straight away. So it really helped with that momentum to like then have your own little bit of land and get growing. So I kind of, again, YouTube, and even this was like days before any of us guys were like, this is like 2015. So like no real YouTube on like people growing food, or I couldn't find it. And there was no one that was like representing me. They just felt like there was a huge age gap, especially at the allotment. So you're getting like people going like, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. But yeah, wanted to learn more. So I had allotment, grew, but went plug plant first and kind of learned that way, like let them grow and then reverse engineer it. And the next year was like seeds. But then I'll kind of like caveat into the next bit because it was like done well, but still had the travel bug. And then I was like, winter was coming. I was like, oh God, this sucks. I need to go traveling again. But I still wanted to learn. So I was like, let's make the next travel experience about like learning about growing your own food. So it was Thursday night, bored, was like, let's type in where permaculture on Google, and I said the first hit, that's where I'm going. So Thursday, Google permaculture, boom, Costa Rica, booked it, was there on the Saturday, and just went straight into a permaculture course in the middle of the jungle.
Nice.
Puerto Viejo on the Caribbean coast, beautiful spot. And I was off grid in the jungle for like 3 weeks to a month, which felt very surreal. Like you just turn up with a suitcase and they're like, well, the road ends here, but you've got to go like a quarter of a mile in the jungle. And you're like, okay, just kind of, it just felt really, really weird. But yeah, got there. This place is so unique. It's like an edible food forest. So it's 90% edible, if not medicinal. So like I said at the start of the podcast about being Willy Wonka for plants, my idea is to kind of turn everywhere into like an edible sensory experience, which we can touch on later. But yeah, this place was like, what I loved about it was after like day 3, they're like, oh yeah, the paths you've been walking on all week, like grab them. So you grabbed them, it was like a grass shoot, lifted it out, it was peanuts. So you're walking on food. Everything was edible. The bark on that tree, every leaf, every plant was food or medicine. And like, so the permaculture thing for me, which fascinated me, was like the buildings, like the kitchens and the houses were at the top of the land, but then the water went in the guttering, down some pipes. They had compost bays in the middle that had the spiral pipes going through. That heated up the water in the pipes. Then we had the showers at the bottom of the hill. So we had heated showers coming from rainwater. It was like heated via compost, and then there was all this Hawaiian ginger outside showers, which you must know about, Michael, surely, where the water mixes with the neck, and he goes,
yes,
yeah, and then you just go bang straight in your hair, and it's like Hawaiian shampoo they call it.
Amazing.
To it. And I was like, that is so clever. Like the soaps were all handmade on site. Like the fact that they just planted the shampoo outside the shower, and when it rained, you just glooped it straight onto your hair.
Wow.
Little things like that just blew my mind. And this is why I'm big on permaculture, because it's all about the design of how can you make this place better via design. So how can one thing have a knock-on effect to the next and to the next and to the next? So, fascinating place. And then when I come home, I just started to think like that, like putting flowers on certain points of the allotment, so the bees had to go over the allotment to give nectar to all the plants. I had a plastic bottle greenhouse, which you may have seen years and years ago on Instagram, where it's like wooden frame, bamboo canes, but then plastic bottles, like 1,000 plastic bottles on top of each other. And the idea was the geothermal effect of the sun hitting it, trapping the air in the plastic bottle to give an insulation layer. That inside the greenhouse, it was slight difference on the degree of temperature, but it still allowed wind to pass through. So it cooled it, but had that element of like keeping the wind off the plants. And grew chilies in there, like huge basil. And you know, like with plants, they just need a little bit of assistance to go nuts. And that was my assistance with the plastic bottle greenhouse. So obviously that's developed over time, but I could go on and on and on how it develops. But it's just 10 years of like going from that, and then story of how I had a farm for 4 years, and then now I'm designing and building.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. First of all, we want to dig in. We have a lovely pun there. We want to dig in more to permaculture, but I think first of all, we need to kind of do a bit of a top line. What really is permaculture? Because it seems like such a buzzword at the moment. What exactly is it, and is it easy to do?
Yeah, it's such a deep subject. So I'll just say it's like a bit of an umbrella term of, so you've got within that, it's like a little bit of like regenerative agriculture, no dig, like, of course, syntropic farming, agroforestry. It's a bit of an umbrella term, but I think the idea is to like harness nature and use it for your benefit, whether that's like catching and storing energy, which is like water or power, or like companion planting. There's loads of principles which I won't go through because it's a bit of a subject. It's deep. It's a rabbit hole. Once you go in, you're going down a path for sure. But definitely look into it more and more. For me, it's just, it has kind of like all the I think Bill Mollison said, all the problems in the world are complex, but the answers remain embarrassingly simple. And we see the answers in the gardens, don't we? Like how society can be formed through gardens in a way, like community, cleaner air, health food and healthy people and all this sort of stuff. So I think it's just seeing like nature as the entity that we need to live in and be a part of the web rather than at the top of the pyramid coming down. So we're just a part of it. So that bee's job is to pollinate the flowers, but we can harness that bee's job by planting the flowers. So I think we have an ability to destroy, but also like build an incredible garden as well. But I like people power. I think we look at the negatives of us, but on our permaculture courses, we see the positives of a collective of people with the right materials. We can grow a garden, we can build a wormery, we could do all these things like really quickly if we're like utilized really well. So like ants, like a community, like bees, like ants, all this sort of stuff. So I hope that clears it a little bit. It's very like a deep subject that I want the listeners to look into, but yeah, it's hard to explain as well, but you're just trying to be a part of the system rather than trying to dominate it.
Kind of like working with it rather than against it. And I kind of see it as like a circle kind of life. Do you know what I mean? Where nothing really goes out of the circle. You're all just in it working together. So if I was to draw it, that's sort of what I would draw. Jack's patch. Where is your patch? Are you urban or rural?
I should be called Jack's No Patch because I don't no longer have my patch. I've still got like my old allotment, which I just don't really post about anymore because it was like the little baby that I had at the start, but then it moved to a 1/4 acre farm where I was kind of where it was like market gardening. So I was really looking at like all the content of like, especially in America as well, market gardening is massive. And same in Canada. And yeah, just went down that road of growing for production, but then adding permaculture principles into that. So I had that for 4 years. And then now I like literally build other people's patches for them. So the name's still there, but I just joke now, like even on the permaculture course that I was doing in Portugal last week, they were like, where's Jack's patch? I went, yeah, it should be called Jack's No Patch at a minute or Jack's Many Patches because I'm just like enhancing loads of different spaces. So it's kind of just a development. I've had my patch. Now I'm helping loads of people have their dreams. And one day I will definitely have my own space again. But yeah, that at the minute it's Jack's No Patch.
Okay, Jack's No Patch. You're spreading the love of Jack's patch everywhere. That's what you're doing for now. I do just want to ask you something about the practice of permaculture. And that's, I think, when anyone perhaps new to gardening or anyone who lives in an urban environment or with a small space might think that, something like this is only applicable to, maybe allotments, but also like big rural gardens and big rural farms. But that's not the case, is there? So do you think there's some kind of, what's the misconception, if you like, about permaculture in urban areas and the ability to grow food by using the practice of permaculture in small spaces? Is that still doable?
Yeah. I really love urban permaculture because for me, like I was growing food on 1/4 of an acre, but I was like within the M25. So I was farming in the walls of London, really. And that was 1/4 of an acre where I was feeding restaurants and cafes, but then scale it back because I have my urban permaculture area I have a shipping container, the 20-foot shipping container that I converted in 2020. Like it was pre-COVID because I was delivering like microgreens and mushrooms to restaurants in this container. I built it to do that. And then COVID come and then I started doing like delivery of that to people's doorstep. So the container is like, as I said, I was an electrician before. So like I wired it myself, I insulated it myself. And this 20-foot shipping container grows an abundance of like microgreens. which is the first 7 to 21 days of growth of like veg and herbs, which has higher polyphenols, higher mineral content. Really, like you see it, it's the little bit of food that's on your dish at a restaurant that you normally push to the side, but it's actually got the most nutrients in. And there was even 2 ladies who had like breast cancer and were in remission, and they used to buy bags off me because of the high content of polyphenols. And they're quite like anti-cancer fighting vitamins, etc. in them. And then, growing them alongside mushrooms. So you'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And the idea is that the mushrooms are grown in the tents, like the little grow tents, like that you get from hydroponic stores. And it actually looks so dodgy in there because I'm next to containers of loads of builders and tree surgeons, and they think I'm growing something else. But it's the microgreens and the mushrooms. And I mainly grow oyster mushrooms because of the ease of growing them. And there's a symbiotic relationship. The plants give off oxygen. The mushrooms breathe like us, so they take in the oxygen, take out the CO2, which then the plants eat, so they help grow together. And then, so really, really cool. And that shows people how to scale it down to that size. But I grow the mushrooms in buckets, and the microgreens, I show people how to grow them in like Tetra Pak, like Oatly cartons as well. So you could take that into schools. You could take that into like people could be growing this at like on the side of hospitals in containers to like feed the patients. But I like to scale it down to show people you can grow your own food at home. And to make it a little bit more permaculture is the microgreens, once they've been chopped and enjoyed, the waste can go in like a wormery on like your balcony to then create into like plant food. Then you can water your plants with. So that circular economy of that. And then with the mushrooms, you could grow them somewhere a little bit damper in your house. Like I wouldn't say put loads of them in your shower room, but even the passive heat from the shower will actually grow the mushrooms. So you can have I wouldn't say do loads because you'll just annoy whoever you're living with, or put them in a garage and just spray it around the bucket, enjoy the mushrooms. Then the mulch, that's called the mycelium one, can be really good mulch for any garden pots or any garden, like going straight into if you have a garden or an allotment. So the waste from that goes into a mulch, turns to soil. So again, it's circularity. But I try and show people all of this sort of stuff as much as possible. And talking about urban as well, it's like catching water from a guttering straight into a water butt. That's harnessing energy, and rainwater we all know is elite over tap water for watering plants. So there's many things you can do. Even like having a little pond on your balcony via a whiskey barrel, bringing in that wildlife. Even growing in pots is still if you're companion planting, you're still doing permaculture. You're still having a ripple effect on the wildlife around you. So I think that's the whole thesis of it.
Okay, to make it super accessible to listeners, then let's talk about doing some permaculture in containers. Like, say we've just got a balcony and we're just going to grow a few veg in a balcony container. How can we make that kind of circular? Any companion planting tips? Kind of like, what would you use container-wise? How would you then use the soil afterwards? Kind of like, how could someone start to do permaculture on a balcony?
Great question. So even little things like if you have the pond, say you've got to enhance more light in your balcony, you put the pond in front of like a little makeshift greenhouse. So like as it bounces off the water, as the sun bounces off the water, it deflects into your greenhouse to add more heat. Little things like that. Like you look at how things change, like even the wind is like, how can I protect an area just by like looking at the wind, looking at the sun direction? How can I harness it? You want to find the shady spots and the sunny spots to find what plants like, having the different heights in the different pots and in the beds, for them to help each other. I mean, even just beneficial flowers to attract pollinators, having a little bug hotel, bee hotel. I just think adding water, adding life brings life. So you bring in just more plants in, more water in. Even like, as I said about the wormeries, like if you've got your food waste going into there and then you're making worm rum, as we like to call it, and then that's just feeding all your plants. But even stuff like strawberries in guttering, but the top ones, as you water the top ones, they feed the next one, then the next one, and it's just you being really clever and upcycling local bits. I think it's just using the space as much as possible to just grow more food. Really,
it makes sense. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could think of loads more, but it'll probably after the podcast, and I'll be like messaging you like, I've thought of loads more now.
We'll do the after hours episode.
and after hours, but also we'll just direct everyone to your social media so they can find out more anyway. So that's cool. What I'm interested to know is, you obviously said, it's Jack's No Patch. You're designing edible gardens for other people now. But how do you go about designing a permaculture garden for clients? And like, how do you blend flowers with veg? Like, what's your approach to permaculture for client design?
So it's as you say, like it's going from like a rooftop where it's done within the bed or surrounding areas. Like if you're doing like we've even put like bug hotels on roofs, stuff like that. And I think that's like kind of quite basic, but then it goes all the way up to like people's gardens and the flow of the garden, how you go about it. Like if it's on a hill, we're just trying to create, like even doing swales in someone's garden to kind of make sure that the moisture is being trapped and held and used. But yeah, a lot of the time it's like within the beds or the surrounding areas. So like even getting people to compost in their gardens, greenhouses, but we do order this like bespoke design. So we just try and make it as best as possible. Instead of like buying in, we build it from scratch. So at the minute we've done like chicken coops. We've even done like mushroom emporiums where just done it in like January. I need to post about it actually, where like they felled a few trees on the land, but like I went through the trees and went, right, that we can grow shiitake mushrooms in, and that goes in a shady part of your garden. That grows oyster mushrooms in. So for example, yellow oyster mushrooms like ash, shiitake mushrooms like alder. And then you've got oak as well. So we were just trying to use what, like something bad had happened in terms of cutting down trees. Obviously they wanted to put like certain buildings in certain places, but we were using it to then build like an ethereal like fencing with a gate that like was very Lord of the Rings, like arch, Game of Thrones. Oh, wow. And then you went into this area and there's just loads of logs growing loads of mushrooms in a shady part of the garden. I look at doing stuff like dead hedging on the outside, so it's like wildlife friendly fencing, and I just love all stuff like that. So I just go around. I don't really do that many designs. I normally do like mood boards for people. So I'll go around. We'll look at the sun traps. We'll look at the pests. We'll look at the what weeds they have, locations. I'll get them to tell me like the dream garden, and then I just make it happen somehow with like just mood board designs. And then just as I go there, sometimes we completely throw the design in the bin, because as you get a feel of the place, you realize, that's more of a windy spot. And then make sure that I work with people that kind of trust the ability that I have just by showing them previous work. I get all my work via social media, so they've seen the work I do, so they just trust that like what I'm going to do is going to come alive. But yeah, some of it is, I think a lot of permaculture and a lot of stuff with plants is intuition. We're tapping into some like ancient knowledge and a big remembering of like, this is what we should be doing anyway. But I just feel, my design has an approach, but sometimes that approach just has a feeling as well going with it.
And sometimes
got
things
stuck
do
in my own
evolve.
answer there.
Yeah, and sometimes things do evolve on the spot as well. But as you explain this permaculture, and this really kind of it's really making a lot of sense to me now, and I know for Ellen as well. And it almost feels like, we are tapping into something that's already there, but it also feels like intelligent growing. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not monoculture; it's kind of like really circular, and it just feels a more intelligent way to grow. Really, that's kind of how I would sum it up. But I want to get onto kind of the Instagram community, because I feel like you're part of that kind of like deeper hub where you've kind of got a new generation out there, of very conscientious growers. And you've made some great friends. And I know like Eduardo, you work with on the permaculture course as well. Talk to us a little bit about how Instagram has helped you to then learn about permaculture and spread the word as well, and about some of those connections that you've built as well, because it looks great. And you guys have a real nice camaraderie that really shines through as well.
Yeah, thank you. There's a real good energy within this whole like growing community anyway. I mean, like 99% of the people I've met are just sweet, just really nice people that kind of don't have a dogmatic approach so far that I've met, where they've come into it from having a different job, kind of having a little bit of like a bit of like an awakening of, oh, this is what I really want to do, how I see my life going. And they've just got into whether it's mushrooms, whether, I mean, like that's a whole rabbit hole that I've jumped down, like with mushrooms and foraging. And like you've got, permaculture, you've got no dig, you've got all sorts of people doing amazing things. And then I think the more you chat, the more you like, when you chat to each other, you don't shut up. You're in like luckily you actually, it's like a soundboard, because I think my girlfriend had enough of me when I first got the farm of like farm, blah, blah, blah. And then I think she was like, you need to make some mates within this space, because I'm like kind of sick of listening about it because I'm not interested. But yeah, just luckily found a lot of mates that are into the same things, kind of had a similar background where they weren't into like plants and growing, and now are really, really into it. And I mean, for example, me and Eduardo, we met once at a event, and then the second time we met, we were teaching people in Portugal. And luckily, we just had such a good camaraderie with, I teach differently to him. I think we're kind of different characters, but we work so well. But like I said about permaculture before, it's such a big umbrella term. He does agroforestry, syntropic farming, and he's like super knowledgeable about water on like a big scale, like how to hydrate massive landscapes. And then I come at it with like really simple teaching of like vegetable growing, like microgreens, mushrooms, like companion planting, really just come at it at the approach of like just trying to find every way possible to grow your own food. And yeah, we just have that different energy, different approach, and people have really responded well, because they're like, you teach differently to Eduardo, but they might really benefit the way I teach, or to benefit the way he teaches. But at the end of the week, it's really about creating the community. We all go home people like in tears, because we're like, we've just had the best week together. But it's really like a mind-blowing subject. So it's a lot of information at once. And then I just love what I do. And I'll still keep in touch with everyone on the course to be like, how you doing? Oh, just seen you set up a garden. And I'll kind of voice note them constantly, like, oh, like this is where you buy this, or this is how you do this. Oh, don't make the same mistake I had done. So, because really, like kind of saying earlier about that ant being a part of the community, it's like we have an opportunity to really help each other. And I think the ultimate goal here is we love plants, we love nature, we don't want it destroyed, we want it to be better. And yeah, if I can do my bit from what I've learned in the last 10 years to help people not make mistakes and grow beautiful gardens around the world, then that's my mission.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's so nice. I actually I would talk about your Portugal courses, so listeners know where to find out more. But Michael, just before that, you'd said that you think it's intelligent growing. I kind of think it's instinctual growing. So
that's it. That's better. That is better. Instinctive
permaculture. You know how kind of like things come back around. This is how people used to grow a very, very, very long time ago, before things changed. In industry changed, and hopefully, what Jack is doing and others is trying to get people to understand that all those things you see on the shelves, and all the ways that perhaps our previous generations, the last few, have been taught, it's not necessary. And keeping everything growing in the garden and evolving with it and going by your true gut instinct is really the best way to garden. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like it's instinctual and not intelligent. I mean, it is intelligent. It's super intelligent, but it comes from your gut. And we've lost that connection.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? With growing, and so that we don't feel that feeling, if that makes any sense. Do you know what I mean, Jack?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like working with soil, I mean, when that's on your hands, like that is like rewiring synapses in your brain. Like it works with the gut, then it has an effect on your brain, like releases endorphins. So it's like it's kind of always talking to us. And then like one of the principles is like observe nature. So constant observations I was making was like certain areas where the garden wasn't growing as well, and then you was like, oh, why is that? And when you was going there every day, I was noticing like there was even wind building up across like another farm, but there was pockets of in between like the bushes where it was like almost like bullets of wind coming through that pocket, and it was making my like sunflowers. You could see there were tall, and then there was like a dip. And then I just stood there and I could feel the wind. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like the plant's going, not too windy here, I'm not growing well. And they're like humans. That's like, you kind of got to be at one with the plants of like, oh, I actually wouldn't like to grow here because it's a bit chillier. I'm not as protected. I mean, you guys know this for sure from like growing, how they're similar to us. Like if the conditions are right, they thrive, and they just constantly tell you, no, I'm not happy, or I'm sick because the soil's sick. Most of the time it's to do with the soil. So I think you just become so more in tune. Before, like I just wasn't in tune. And then you'd listen to it, and it just makes like going to the woods cooler, like especially with mushrooms. I just like go to the woods, like, oh my god,
You love a mushroom.
I do love a mushroom. I've got like I'm looking at a poster above this laptop full of like identifying mushrooms, and I got really into like that world, and because that's like the little aliens, those things, and fascinating. Totally. And I think like all of us, we're obsessed with this like plant world and nature, and it's a rabbit hole, and once you've taken a bit of the forbidden fruit, you that's it.
And it never ends. There's always so much more to explore, and you just do forever. It's true. Once you're in it, you're addicted to it, and it will be with you for the rest of your life, and you'll constantly learn. I did say before that we would come back round to your courses in Portugal, so it'd be really good to wrap up this episode with perhaps some ways that listeners can get in touch with you about your permaculture courses and where they can find you online.
For sure. So actually the permaculture courses, like I promote mine at Jax_Patch on Instagram. I'm on TikTok as well, but still trying to navigate how to figure that platform out. Like most people. So I've got like a new website coming out like this week, www.jackpatch.co.uk. But Eduardo, who I do the permaculture courses with, that's where you find the information. So it's Eduardo Terzidis, which is Eduardo TERZIDIS.com. And Eduardo's got all the upcoming courses on there. So we have an online permaculture course, so you can learn the 72 hours to get your certificate online at your own pace. But we have like Zooms every few weeks of like community calls, how people are getting on, explaining about their like woes and if they've got any projects of themselves going on. Like we just try and help figure out how stuff's going on and how they are to create that like bit of online community. And then we have classes on there, so I teach like microgreens and mushrooms, someone teaches syntropic farming, but then we also have a practical week, which is an additional extra, or you can come separately just for the practical week, where it's hands in the soil every day, learning about all sorts of madness. I mean, I was just in Portugal 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, the weather was way better here. It was a bit of a washout, but it was great in terms of like seeing Portugal so green for once. They had like the wettest winter ever, and it looked like the UK. It was so lush. Wow. And yeah, seeing all the waterworks that we done in October on a barren landscape, filled with water, soaking into the landscape, hydrating the trees, keeping this huge amount of water away from the little tiny home at the bottom of the hill. Just seeing it work was like really fulfilling, to be like, this whole system based approach works. And so like you can come onto the practical courses, and the great thing is they're not just in Portugal. They might be in London, they could be in Australia. We've even got asked to go to Hawaii. So it's like, this kind of what we're doing is we can take it anywhere. We just need a farm that has accommodation and an outdoor kitchen, and we can take this anywhere. So that's what I'm excited about, how the future looks, of how that can look, pretty much. And
that is super cool.
That is
definitely
really, really exciting.
Yeah, it's completely mad. So I was like, as I said, like you go from going on a farm in Australia, then to Costa Rica, then I had an allotment, then I had a farm for 4 years doing market gardening and selling to chefs and veg boxes, and then now designing gardens and spaces. It's completely nuts. But what I want to say to people is that there is like if people are excited about this kind of line of work, there is these jobs here. There's like, it's hard work to get there, but honestly, like when you're passionate about something, if you're getting up every day thinking about something, going to bed thinking about something, that's what you're meant to do.
Yeah, totally. I feel the same.
Things that excite you are not random. They are there for a reason. I've got that poster on my bedroom.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jack. It's inspirational to sit here, all the things that you've done, and I'm sure our listeners will agree too. Michael's back. We can actually see him again now.
Ooh la la.
Great. You're actually dressed as well, so that's awesome. Okay, so yeah, everyone, check out Jack's patch. We appreciate you being here and everything you do. Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See you later again.
Hi everyone, it's Ellen Mary here. Michael and I are doing separate gossips this week because we just couldn't make it happen at the same time. We just could not get online. Michael is away cruising and talking about plants, and I'm off at my People Plants Wellbeing retreat. So we just couldn't do it together. So we thought we'd update you individually, let you know what's going on. Another great episode. I hope you really enjoy it. And before I tell you what I've been up to, I really appreciate you all listening and downloading, because we hit 1 million followers, and I don't think that that's really registered with me yet. I keep saying it, but it's like 1 million downloads is amazing. Did I say followers? Anyway, I mean downloads. 1 million downloads. Thank you so much. I can't believe we've been going since 2018, I think, is when we first started recording. So yeah, that's great news. Thank you so much. We'll keep going. We'll keep ploughing on, even though occasionally we have to do gossips separately. So I've been mainly preparing for my retreat coming up. So I hold a nature immersion retreat in Norfolk. It's in magical woodlands, and we do forest bathing, and we stargaze, and we have marshmallows by the fire, and we have lots of plant-based food, and we've got foraging and yoga, all kinds of just beautiful things outside in nature, which is a complete joy. But obviously there's a lot to prepare, including recipes and food, all those kind of things, and making some stuff to take as well. It was quite nice actually, because I went to the allotment the other day, and there were lots of seed heads that I had snipped off a week or so ago and left in the greenhouse, and they look so beautiful. So I'm going to take those along for people to make flower crowns, to have a little bit of fun with that. So yeah, and I was just thinking how we've kind of moved, haven't we, from the excitement of the end of winter, when, you know, we see snowdrops, and then not so long after the daffodils come, and now all of a sudden most of the daffodils have gone over and we're into tulip season, and then it will be alliums. And I love this time of year because seeds are being sown, and those that have been sown are probably already germinated, and you've got little seedlings, and it's just really exciting. And I'm quite a late seed sower. I don't have all the facility at home to sow early, like the light and the space. So I tend to do that in March. But this year I didn't do it until April. So I do feel like a little bit later than usual, but I don't feel behind. Everything will catch up super fast now it's sunny, and that's really exciting to have been sowing seeds in the greenhouse and watching some of them germinate. I recently sowed a load of microgreens to take the retreat, but I might have been cutting that one a bit too fine. I'm not totally sure just yet that they're going to be ready on time. But anyway, so it's mainly been allotment stuff for me. Harvested the first of the rhubarb. I mean, honestly, the stalks are so big and still so sweet. So that's really exciting. I've got peonies that are growing really fast. They're way ahead from last year, which is really cool. And then the other day I had a massive big delivery of plant grow, and plant grow is plant-based, so that's a really cool mulch that I use every year as well. So yeah, things are ploughing on, so to speak, and I really do love April. And funnily enough, April's known for April showers, but I don't really think we've had any. It's been very dry. So, yeah, there'll be a bit of watering to do soon as well. Anyway, that's my news. I've got to crack on with it. I've got some little cards to write out for people at the retreat, and I give everyone a little crystal with those. So, yeah, I must go. Lovely chatting to myself. But you guys also, hopefully. And also, we absolutely love to hear from you. So if you want to message us on Instagram with any ideas or topics you would love to hear on the podcast, ideas for guests, what you would like to hear us gossip about when we just chatter away at the end, anything at all, we would love to hear from you. And don't forget, if you can, please leave us a review, especially on Apple Podcasts, because it really, really helps. Anyway, thank you and happy gardening.
Oh, can you hear that noise? It's birds. It's lapping waves. I'm on a boat. Ellen and I are doing our separate gossips this week because we are far too busy and important to actually meet up and do a gossip. So you have to put up with us individually. I don't know if she's been on first or I'm going on first, but anyway. Ellen's having her retreat this weekend, so I really hope that's going well. I'm working on a boat. I'm working for Avalon Cruises. I've done 2 years of this now. It's a really fun job, and this time I agreed to do 2 back-to-back as well. So tomorrow, after I finish this cruise, I'm hopping on the train in Amsterdam and then going down to Antwerp to do the, the route again. Oh, there's a plane. I've got my patio door open. That's how you can hear everything. It's so beautiful. There's something about water, isn't there? It's just, I'm literally outside the boat. I've got my head outside the boat. I love it so much. And I'm giving lectures. We did a Weird Wacky plant show the other day, and today I'm doing My Life in Plants, where I go through my career, all the different plants that I've introduced and all that jazz. So yeah, it's really cool. I really love it. We went to Kirkenhof today. Been there twice this season, which is actually I'm usually there a few more times than that, I'm sure. It's very busy to go in the middle of the day though. I've actually just put an article out on my website and Substack, kind of trying to give you a few tips on when to visit, because a good time to visit is actually about 5:30 p.m. because it's open till 7:30. That is a brilliant time. So yeah, today I was kind of in a bit of a tourist frob. Is that the right word? What is a group of tourists called? A frob? I don't know. Bustle. Let's call it a bustle. But no, it was cool. Picked out some lovely new tulips again. I adore spring. It's just the best. But I feel like it's slipping out of my fingers. It's getting warmer and it feels like it's kind of heading towards the summer a little bit, and I don't want spring to go, if you know what I mean. I don't like that moment. But anyway, everything's looking fantastic. I've set up a veg truck recently on my balcony, but it seems to be still a lot of travel here, there and everywhere, so I can't really have any sort of permanent growing space quite yet. So that's something that I'm still working on. So I really need to get a garden and a house again, but I haven't got time to look. Can you employ people to find houses for you? Is that a thing? Might need to do that. Oh, there's a cute boy. Went past on the boat. Shame Ellen isn't here. She would love that. What else have I been up to? So, yeah, been on the cruise for 5 days now, I think. We're about to dock in Harlem, which should be pretty cool. Did some cool work with Cherry Lane recently. Conifers. Obviously, I was conifer crazy last week here on the podcast. Been putting out lots of content on Instagram, all about that as well, because they're so unsung. There's so many awesome conifers to discover out there, all different shapes, sizes, lots of different conditions. They're very environmentally conscious as well, which is a good reason to go and choose a conifer in your garden. So I would highly recommend that to you. Chelsea soon, isn't it? Where is it? About 2 weeks' time, isn't it? Yes. Looking forward. I've just been booked for QVC that day, so I won't be able to be there for too many hours, but I might try and get in early as well. Interesting. I get to wear my suit again. Not many times that I get to wear my suit in real life. Real life? What is real life? Is this not real life? So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Next weekend, I'm doing an outside broadcast, also known as an OB, for QVC. So I'm really looking forward to that, actually. So that will be a nice weekend in the tulip fields, selling tulips live on the telly. Haven't done an OB since last year, so I hope I remember what to do. Should be cool. So I need to pack in a moment because I need to hop off this boat tomorrow and jump on another one. So they're with Avalon. I'd really recommend it. This is not even an advert, but I just love it. I'm tempted to go on my own river cruise at some point. There's an orchid in my room as well, which is real. How often do you go on a trip and there is a real plant in your room? It's just amazing. Anyway, I'm not going to water it. I wonder how many guests actually try and water the plants, kind of like. That is how to overwater an orchid, actually. That is pretty dangerous. People should really look after themselves. Well, we're almost docking, and then I'm going on a bike ride, and then I'm going to do my Life in Plants presentation. So, yeah, I'll see you on the other side next week, along with my melon. Next week is just me. Next week is a solo, because I'm talking to the houseplant queens, Meg and Gemma. Oh my God, I've just realised their names are almost an anagram of each other's. Isn't that weird? And we had an amazing chat. It was about an hour, 10 minutes. So Ellen was telling me off for it being too long in the edit, but never mind. But it was just, it was very, very good, I have to say. So I hope you'll tune in to that. So that is a solo episode next week. But as usual, give us your comments. Send us voice notes if you want. If you do it for Natalie Cassidy, you should do it for us. See you guys.
We love plants at British Garden Centres, and they are at the heart of what we do. Our expert team source plants from nurseries big and small, as well as growing our own in UK nurseries. We want to keep Britain growing and recognise the need to educate our customers, whether you speak to our horticultural specialists in store or follow us on social media at British Garden Centres to get the best out of your plants. Keep an eye out for our Best Buy products too. These products have been individually selected by us for unbeatable quality and value. So if you're a plant lover like us, visit your local British Garden Centres today.
The music for the Plant-Based podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.